Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dog Show Drive with Wayne and Will. I'm Wayne Cavanaugh.
You definitely. Oh, I'm looking the wrong way. You definitely are. I'm Will Alexander.
Right over there. Anyway, this is our first time going YouTube with the Dog Show Drive. So we have a regular podcast and our YouTube video. I apologize that you have to see us after all this great mystery. Anyway, this week we're going to talk about Babcock, the Benno asteroid, and that dog show judging thing, and the importance of where you've been, where you came from when you're judging dogs. All that and more right here on the Dog Show Drive. Well, good morning, bud. Here we are.
I know. Good morning, man.
It's
I
scary.
might be a little nervous this morning.
It's scary, bud. We had to make sure that, because sometimes we do wear the, what was the in Toy Story? It had Woody, and who was the other guy? Captain somebody?
Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear. We have the Buzz Lightyear pajamas on. We can't have that today. We had to actually throw a sweatshirt on this morning.
Well, I'm not wearing any pants, so.
Well, I'm not either, but I am wearing a Speedo, but that's just for health reasons. Anyway, we are on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the inaugural YouTube show. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We think Doc might. He says
We hope he does, or else we're screwed.
So we're just talking off air about how different it seems, because we're kind of serious this morning. We actually discuss topics. Usually we just launch into them, launch without any plan. And for some reason, now that you can see us, we want to look a little less stupid. And I'm not sure that really matters, does it, Will?
I'm not sure if that's what the viewers want, though. Let's just give it a whirl and see what happens.
Why would anyone want to see us? Anyway, let's start with some very important dog news. Mike Babcock got fired, Will.
I know. Don't mess with the Dog Show Drive.
That is hockey. We talked last week. We did actually talk.
Actually, he resigned. He didn't get fired.
So. Well, yeah, that's what they always say.
I know, but if he got fired, he still would. He still might be, but they're saying he's not. If he hadn't got fired, he still would have got his fee of $4 million a year. Right. By resigning, he gives up that fee. But I bet you there's some backroom stuff where let's let you resign. That way no one delves into it, and we'll still throw you something. And
that's the way it always works. And no one knows what we're talking about except three Canadians. But Mike Babcock was hired as the coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And he went through the cell phones of the players, and that was enough for guys making a lot more than him.
And we outed it last week. So
yeah, we caused the resignation, Will.
I know.
Because of our podcast.
I'm telling you, and by us outing injustices,
yes,
justice prevails.
That's right, justice does prevail. And we all know that Batman and all those guys at the top brass in hockey all listen to us every week because of our extreme hockey insights. We're so Dog Show. Oh wait, this is the Dog Show Drive one. Will
the Dog Show Drive? But I have to tell you, Wayne. Yeah, I got a message from somebody saying how much they now follow hockey because of the Dog Show Drive.
I think that was one person.
No, I've had a few. My mom already watched hockey, so it doesn't matter.
Anyway, yesterday was a big day here at the Cavanaugh household. It was Tatum's birthday, our granddaughter. But more important, we're thinking of Doug Belter, 70. Who'd have thought it?
Is he 70? He's not 70, is he?
72, I think. It's
unbelievable. I think he's like 65.
He is 65. He is. Happy birthday, Doug. We love you, bud. I know we give you a hard time sometimes, as you do to us. It's all fair. But our good friend and loyal friend, Doug Belter, happy birthday, bud.
And he has so many friends that I kept popping up on Facebook, these different pictures of Doug. And this one photo of him looked very serious. He was looking into the camera. But if you look into his eyes, all I could think of, I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, for new listeners, Will has millions of pop culture trivia. It just comes out of his mouth. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. Wait, over here.
No, the other way. The other
I got
way.
one the other way to get to you, bud. Yeah.
You're over there.
What are, what are we gonna do?
We'll get used to this, okay? We'll get used to this. I'll eventually
Anyway,
wear pants.
yeah, this is very different. We actually care what we look like, which is ridiculous. But anyway, Doug Belter is a good example of a guy who's doing that transition from handling into judging. And Will and I talked about this before off air. Um, and we had sort of an interesting discussion. We don't necessarily agree. Will, you want to talk about the judging and having a dog at home when you retire or
Oh
whatever?
yeah, like I was speaking to a judge last week. I won't get into any names again because that just gets you in trouble. But they just got a dog. They just started learning about that breed. It's not a breed they're used to, and he can't believe how much he has learned by having this dog and having the new mentors in this breed. And truly believes it's going to help him be a better judge. And I agree. It kind of puts you right into the game, so you get to keep things in perspective. And I was talking to another couple yesterday, and actually Mike and Sandy, and they were saying when they showed their dog, it made them appreciate their competition more. And they could see why, like, when, like, of course, when anybody loses, they go, oh man, I lost, and that dog. And but then I think as a judge, you look at things differently, we hope, and they analytically went through as to why this dog won that day, and they come up with reasons. And I think that's important. It keeps things in perspective when you're out there. So
I remember Eddie when was showing the Pretty Beagle Bitch a couple years ago, and he hadn't been in the ring in a long time. He called and said, the most amazing part was pulling into the parking lot, finding out where to park, his little grooming table, his little tack box, and his little crate and his dog. And it does a little reminder of the work that goes into it, even with just one dog. You get to appreciate that. But I don't know, Will. It's a personal. It's I can tell you that I learned more about sighthounds than I ever did, and I've been involved in quite a few of them at Forsyths, Whippets especially, and Greyhounds. Um,
better than hindsight.
in hindsight, yeah. But the
So Jeannie used to always say to me, "Foresight's better than hindsight."
it's true. It is. Anyway, the just living with Killian, the wolfhound, and watching him every day. And I know I talked about this before, but living with a breed and seeing it and watching and learning its character's got so much to do. You can't describe the character and the standard well enough.
Right, I
But when
agree.
you live with them and you see them and you feel it, it's a different experience than living with sighthounds for me. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out and buy 200 breeds just so you can be an expert in every one of them, but it does help to have a dog. The differences that Will and I have on this is Will thinks, well, yeah, about having one forever and when you're judging.
Oh,
Others,
well, I think it's, I know, I understand when you get in your late 80s, it's hard to have a dog because then you wonder who's going to look after that dog because you are older. Where are you gonna take that? Who's going to look after it when you go off judging? Um, but it's amazing as I've interviewed people that are judges for a long time that don't have dogs anymore, and then you'll talk to some that still have dogs, and I know I just started my judging career, and I do a lot of seminars. I was just in Phoenix last weekend, and it was a wonderful time. The Lee Shup did that. Well, I'll talk about that afterwards. Anyway, each week I have four dogs here. I have my Bouvier, my two beagles, and an Irish Setter. So I have to find. I don't just take them to a boarding kennel because that's not what I want. They have their babysitters that they love. Monica, Monica Park. She takes my beagles, and she loves the beagles. Nancy Johnson, who I do a lot of work with, and she has a grooming shop. She takes the Bouvier, and she even has a GPS tag for him now, and he wanders around, and it'll go off while he's here. And then obviously Jill Taylor, the Irish Setter goes back to Jill Taylor each week because that's Irish Setter heaven. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures. It's Irish Setter heaven there. So they're more thrilled to go there. Every
mm,
once in a while, if he's there for like 2 weeks in a row, he'll come and be excited to come here. But it's a lot of work to go put them places.
mhm, yeah.
But I know they're happy. It's funny with Clark last week, Nancy couldn't take him, so I was scrambling because I forgot because I'm not great at remembering things unless I write them down. I forgot that Nancy couldn't take him, that she was going off the Irish Wolfhound National because
Oh,
she shows
good for
Irish
her.
Wolfhounds, the Canadian National. And so she couldn't take Clark. But this lovely couple, Dave Posbaum and his wife, who have used Clark as a stud dog, when he goes there, he runs the house. So I thought, oh, I'll call Dave and see if he would help me out this week. And he and his wife Shelly graciously helped me. Only problem is when I drove Clark in the driveway, he got really excited.
I
He
was
got
thinking
really
that.
excited. And it wasn't just to see Dave and Shelly. He loves them,
Yeah.
but he got
Thanks, Will.
really
Party. Yeah.
but I do know the point I was
Look
getting to
well.
is
Yeah.
when I get home, I can't wait to get my dogs back. I miss my dogs terribly. So
Yeah. I understand that. And I guess I'm a couple weeks older than Will, not many. And it puts you in a different perspective as far as buying a dog. Um, I loved our little border terriers, but they live to be 150, as do skipper keys, right? You want
yeah.
one that's going to live forever, get a skip. Well, do you have a plan on where those dogs go when you pass? Is there someone willing to do that? And by the way, is that person still there? My brother had a situation. He's since moved from Vermont to here to Michigan, which is wonderful. Um, but he has a dog, and his plan before he got this dog was to give it to a neighbor who loved the dog. Well, the neighbor's in Vermont now. Who knows what's going to happen? So it's hard to plan
Brother
these.
Wayne's gonna happen.
That's usually what happens with everything, Will. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. He's kind of heavy, but he's still my brother. I love him. Anyway, it really depends because you can't time your life, right? You don't know when you're going to die, and you don't know when your dogs are going to die. So that's in the game. The other thing is, if you start judging every single weekend, that's going to be a grind.
Yeah.
Dropping the dogs off and picking
It
them
is
up.
a worry. Like I'm
Yeah.
busy most weekends, and it's I'm really lucky with who looks
Hmm.
after my dogs. Like I'm really lucky.
No, there are judges that have 20 dogs home. I'm down to one. I've never had one dog in my life, ever. And it's just something that Cheryl, we're gonna be doing more traveling. That's the plan. Get some river cruises booked in Budapest and all those things. We just want to get those things done right now in the time of our life. And we want to spend time with the grandkids and all that stuff. But we'll always have it. I think we'll always, I want another one. I want two. But we don't have the farm anymore. We don't have the kennels. We don't have the big paddocks. So you got to plan accordingly for that. When I see people, when people said you're getting a wolfhound, they don't last very long. Yeah. you know, you don't want to buy a dog hoping it doesn't make it to 15, but depending on your age, you do that math and figure things out. But I do think it helps to have a dog only because it reminds you about the love of the sport and the passion you have. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't be in the sport. But I totally respect and understand
Oh, it's definitely
judges
understandable.
who
There's
have
no
none. Yeah. They have to sometimes you get to a point. I think one of your points, Will, is that he has a new breed, right?
yes.
And he's learning about this new breed by owning it. That I think is absolutely essential. Again, not that you want to own all 200, although some of them
I want to.
close.
I better win the lottery.
You might be one or two breeds ahead of me, but I'm not sure. It's close. And it does give you, and of course, working with dogs. I think we underestimate the opportunity that assistants have. If your handler has a good string of dogs, or at least knows what a good one is, we can talk about that in a minute. It's a great opportunity to learn about breeds without having to own them. You're spending your life with them every day, right?
Yeah.
But we talked about this earlier too, Will. The dilemma of handlers that never bred dogs, and that's totally understandable, right? It's a
Yeah,
profession.
it's understandable. I think is and as long as they find a way to get involved, even with some of their clients and the breeding aspect of it. So
Mhm.
I think that part is so important to understand that part. It's not just important in breeding the animals, but it helps you with animal husbandry because the breeders have so much knowledge to give you. This is going wrong with this, and they'll have an answer for you.
Mhm.
And you need those people in your life.
You do. And I think that's real important. The other thing is a lot of handler. And by the way, if anybody's not putting down handlers, it's Will and I, right? We have, but there's a difference, I think, in approach for handlers who haven't bred dogs. There's the danger, and I'm not saying it's common, but it happens, of them thinking that the ones they win with are the right ones that have breed type, that have the characteristics of the breed. They may just be good show dogs,
Yeah.
and they're a good handler, good at presentation and grooming. So where do they get their examples of good dogs from? So if you've never been involved at that level, and you enter the judging pool as a handler who hasn't had those other and many have of other layers of experience breeding and owning dogs, do you approach it more from the presentation and grooming side? Do you subconsciously make that more of an effort, or appreciate that, or award that more? Are you able to find the unmade bed that excels in breed type? It's great breeding stock, because we are evaluating breeding stock, not grooming and presentation, although it's part of it. So is there that danger for some handlers making that transition to do that as well?
And it's also interesting. I was away in Phoenix this weekend talking to. I had a great class, great seminar. Anyway, we talked about different things, and they asked me questions about judging and breeding and whatnot. And I brought up a woman named Pat Miller. Pat Miller was a wood smoke Whippets and Shih Tzus in Canada, and she was very successful in
Yeah.
both breeds. And she judged a lot. And she was a wonderful judge until she retired. A wonderful judge. But I'll tell you, I would go second to almost any Whippet in the world under Pat with a Beagle. And I finally asked her why she rewarded so many Whippets. And they weren't always the same type of dog. There was some difference in looks. She said because she's bred them for so long, she had a hard time breeding Phil in the front. So when she found it on a dog, she had a hard time not rewarding it because she knew how hard it was for her to obtain. So when she found a breeder that did do it, she felt like she had to reward it. So sometimes they were different sizes, different shapes. They're obviously still Whippets, but I mean, she would reward these dogs and they had the fill in the front over other dogs just because she knew how difficult it was to obtain that. So that part I think makes you know something about breeding, how important breeding is. It
Mhm.
makes you understand what things are hard to get. Like you can get certain things back in generations where things you can't get back. And once you've lost them, you've
Yeah.
got to work hard to find a way back.
Yeah.
So
So much depends on where you come from, right? I'm not saying we don't all get to the same place, but how you approach it's always fascinating to me. Maybe I'm so big on shoulder layback and upper arm length and fronts because English setters I started with, and pointers and beagles, and breeds
yeah.
that was tough getting those fronts on those
Oh, for
people.
sure. I
So
remember
I don't even
bringing a
know if
dog to
that's true.
Janie,
Yeah, yeah.
and Janie said to me, "Oh, he's lovely, Will, but he's a little Irish setter up front."
Yeah,
You know,
exactly, exactly.
he's an Irish
So,
setter.
yeah. So gin at this early, Will. Heavy on gin? Is
Hmm.
that what you're drinking there?
Yeah, it's
There's
just to
only
get me
tea in the
through the
teacup.
morning.
There's only tea in the teacup. And of course, you do know, even though we're not telling you about red rose tea giving us anything,
Red
but Will and I are
rose.
both serious drinkers of red rose tea. We
Yeah.
take it with us on the road. If you watch us in restaurants, please don't. We're not meat eaters. But if you do in the morning for breakfast, you'll notice we bring our own red rose tea bag and put it right in the
And dunk it in like a
up
couple
to
of
you.
old fools.
You bring your own
But
tea.
Red Rose,
I
if you
have
want to
my own
support
bag.
us, we're supporting you.
Love our tea. Anyway, but it does, where you come from. Do veterinarians put more emphasis on the structure of the dog, or things that would bother them, a croup alignment or a hind quarter that they think might look pretty and fancy, but I don't want to do that surgery when they're 10. Or and then does an engineer come at it like, well,
Right.
I've got to build this structure perfectly? Does an artist come from it? And these aren't conscious things. Does an artist come from it for more of a, flow and angles and pretty and maybe even too exaggerated? Does the engineer want them too boring? I don't know. I just can't imagine that this wouldn't be a great social psychology
And
project
it
for
would be
some.
great because think of it. You could find examples of all those people you were just talking about.
They're in my head.
Oh, exactly. I can see we had a breeder up here, Jam Buchanan of Salukis, and she was very artsy. She was painter, she was this, and she was just one of those tall, artsy looking women anyway. And she read Salukis. And the Salukis matched her.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
It was
Where does
perfect.
what's your definition of moderation, which is key to so many breeds and so much? And I think that the complaints we have about exaggeration, which obviously I'm one of those people, uh, thinking we have to be careful about exaggeration in breeds. Sometimes we look at exaggeration. Oh, that's breed type. Mm, I can these pointer heads with this extreme dish and short back skull and short muzzle. That's a cartoon of a pointer
Yeah,
head.
it's a
That's not a
character. It's
pointer
a
head.
caricature.
Yeah,
It's like someone said that about Marquis in his day. He was actually a caricature of braid
yeah,
type, you
yeah.
know.
And I think
Um,
we have to be careful of that. That's where exaggerations get us in trouble. So if you're too from the artsy side, and I mean, I was a poet, and
but he
that's my
didn't know it.
my undergraduate degrees in writing in contemporary American poetry
Yeah.
specifically. So am I looking at more things from beauty and balance? I don't know. I hope that I've got the whole dog in my head, but it's interesting for me to think about that process and where you come from. If you're interior decorator, do you see balance better? I don't know,
Yeah.
but um, maybe it'd be fun to find out. But that's the beauty of it. That's a diversity of opinion we need to keep breeds. We need diversity in breeds. We don't want them to all look exactly alike, although we think we do. But you have to have that diversity in any gene pool. I don't mean just inbreeding coefficients. I mean diversity of look. You might need that big common sound bugger once in a while.
Oh, there's no
Breed
question. I
type.
remember going to a show. I won't say what breeder or who it was, and I was showing a dog that he wasn't always the bravest dog, but you'd go to national especially, and the ones would walk by that would be kicking up the dirt and grumbling were not the most attractive. And I turned to
Mhm.
my breeder and client and said, couldn't we just breed to one of those once?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Hey, for those of you who remember Deputy, national acclaim, who won the Garden, he certainly didn't have a whole lot of breed type, but he was great on his legs, and he was bred to one of Tom Bradley's beautiful, elegant, gorgeous typey bitches without the best legs, and Bee's knees came around. So you have to take those risks once in a while,
And that
and
kind of goes
then
back to your two marshmallows theory. You know? It
it's
does. I used that this weekend. It was perfect.
yeah, you've got to think ahead, and I'm not sure. And as judges, do we have that responsibility? I think we do, Will, and especially doing nationals. If fronts are all bad, I mean, I don't want to use fronts again. Tails are all bad in that breed, and you have 175 to judge 2 days in a row or something, or even a smaller entry, but a good sized entry. Do you start saying, enough of these bad
Enough
tails?
is enough. Yeah.
And I'm going to start selecting those out as I judge, as I would a breeder, because I'm trying to evaluate breeding stock and maybe even make a statement that I know that you think I'm missing this other stuff. I see it, but there's one thing it's in every one of these dogs, and I'm not going to reward it anymore.
Yeah. No, that,
What goes through our heads? And I'm not saying it's even conscious. I've seen myself self correct in a large entry. I've seen it where it's not conscious, and I'm looking, going, wait a second, am I being too hard on whatever? Or am I giving too much allowance to whatever? It's not easy in there. And I wish that somehow if we did self commentary as we were judging, it wouldn't be the same as what our process thinks
yeah.
because there's so many layers of subconscious background. Is it what field did you come from? What did you study? I don't know who you
Is it
work with.
almost lunchtime?
It's almost, yeah, exactly. When the hell do I get to sit down and eat some cake, Will? That's what we're talking about.
I have to bring it down to that level once in a while.
Once in a while, we have to. I don't know. It's terrible. It's true. And I talk to judges about this, and it's terrible. No one wants to admit this, but I'm going to let you in a little secret, ladies and gentlemen. If it's really close for third and fourth for anything, really close. I mean, like identical. These dogs may have different faults, but they're exactly B minuses or whatever you might grade them. The person who looks nicer who's more pleasant, maybe gets the edge. Well,
Oh,
that's not in
I
the book
definitely
somewhere.
agree with you. I preach that at my seminars. It's human nature sport. If Wayne and I walk in the ring with the exact same dog, and they obviously like me better, what's the answer?
Or if they're
You
very,
don't
if they're
even know
really,
you're in my seminar, do you?
or if they're very well read, they might look at me and go, "That's the guy." Fourth for you.
I can read.
Uh, anyway, these things do play into your brain, and the way we think as judges is not just read the standard and apply the standard. In fact, if we did that, it would be terrible. If we only judge by the standard, it would be a disaster, a total disaster. Do you need to know it? Yes. Do you need to understand it? Yes. When someone comes up and goes, "How did you reward that dog with a long left ear or something?" I'm like, there was a whole dog there. I'm not sure if you missed that or not. And we're judging the whole dog, and that's important. Uh, I've written papers about this and I've done lectures about this. So I'm going to give you the 3-second version. In my weird brain, there are three phases of judging that we go through. The first is, and anybody can, with a good eye, that's the key. If you have a good eye, a mutt walking down the street, you can say, "That's a good looking dog. It's balanced. There's something about it, some symmetry thing that makes me think that's a nice dog." You get into purebred dogs, same thing. That's attractive. That's a good looking dog. That catches my eye. That's phase one. You can get away with judging the rest of your life with that, Will. And a
Oh,
lot
for
of
sure you
people
can.
do, right? Phase one judges. Phase two, now you get into pointers. You appreciate the veins in the ear leather because it's thin enough. You appreciate the way the head is shaped so beautifully around the eyes and the fact that their ears are set on right. The tail is a perfect bee sting, thicker at the root, going to a taper. All these little subtleties of that breed, the underlying, the little tiny breed characteristics. And you get so hung up on that that that's what you reward, no matter how they walk or the way they're put together.
Yeah.
And you're in your mind, you're telling people, "I'm a type judge. I breed on breed type alone. That I know about type now. I'm going to be looking for those little subtle things." That's great too. You can do that. You can judge that way all your life too. If you're smart enough to know breed type in every breed, knock yourself out.
Right. It's
Phase
very
three is when you
difficult.
put together the general construction and make and shape an eye for a dog with the points of breed type, and you judge the whole dog. The problem is everyone thinks they're in phase three. Well, they all do.
Yeah.
Are we? And is it steady, or is it static, or is it dynamic? Do you float in and out of those phases? I'll bet I do.
Oh, there's no
Fact
question,
is, yeah,
because there's some breeds you definitely know more than you about other breeds.
absolutely.
It's interesting. When I interviewed Christian Menonopoulos, we talked about something like this, and he was saying that it's funny how the average dog person's eye gets drawn to things that are incorrect in that breed, but they're appealing, like top lines, over exaggeration, long necks, and that creates a problem because obviously you're trying to go with the breed type and then be correct in the standard or the breed functions, but it's appealing, especially to some artist's eyes, because that's aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, yeah,
So you have to correct yourself in your head
you do.
and
And
not get sucked in. But I'm under the I'm always believed if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, chances are it's a duck. When I hear judges banging on dogs that have won a lot, I want to see that dog because dogs don't just win a lot because there's
some
got
of
to
them
be
do.
something.
I can name a few. I can name a few. Will.
Yeah, no, there's got to be something, be it area, be it whatever.
Yeah,
There's got to be something.
yeah. Well, if you go looking for faults, and of course this is something we've talked about and written about and yammering on about forever. If you're a fault judge, you're going to be miserable, first of all, because you're missing the whole dog. You're
Yeah.
missing the whole dog. And if you go in the ring and you walk down that line and you're only looking for faults, you're in the wrong lane. You're going to be miserable. You're going to be you're not going to have fun
Oh,
in there. Who wants to
it
think
kind of puts
negative
you in a
thoughts
bad
all
mood,
day?
no question.
You walk down that line, you think, beautiful head, beautiful feet. There's something that you can find in every single dog in that ring that's good. And that
Yep.
gets you in a frame of reference that you're judging on positives. And that gets you to, I hope, putting it to the whole dog perspective. Because when someone says, "I can't believe that dog wins because it has a bad whatever," they all have a bad whatever.
Right.
Every one of them, except Miss P. But every other dog that ever lived has something you would correct. And you can't judge that way. And people outside the ring that say, I can't believe you put up that dog with the bad rear. Overall,
Yeah. Remember what our friend Mark Thruffle said about that one day?
yes.
If you had to go that far back to find something wrong with my dog, I think
Mhm.
I have a pretty good dog.
Yeah. And Jim Edwards on Tails did the same thing, although I'm a tail fanatic. He wasn't. Jim was a biologist and a geneticist. He didn't, the artistic eye didn't, he knew, he was a great appreciation of art. We go to France, go to Paris, we want to see all the museums. He had that too. But he came, for Jim, it had to be basic structure and meet those standard requirements first. So for him, he would say, if you had to go that far back to the tail to find a fault, and I would say sometimes that tail is the leading indicator of breed type. In pointers, for example, it says in the great Arkwright book, the old book that you can't find, the guy who would be, I guess, the godfather of the breed, the man who did the most development of the breed, the Arkwright pointer.
Make him an
He
offer he
says,
can't refuse. Sorry.
he says, he says, the hallmark of the breed is the head, but for the certificate of blue blood, apply at the other end. And the
I
reason for
like
that
that.
in pointers is a foxhound tail is fat, ropey, and doesn't taper. These are the root breeds we talked about last week being so important. Unless you knew the root breeds, how would you get to this finer point of the tail? Greyhound tails, long and skinny, right? Long and skinny with more curve. Um, Terrier tails, short, fat base at the root. And
Carrot, yeah, upside down carrot,
yeah,
carry
there's
up.
not a lot of terrier in there, but bloodhound tails, fat and ropey again. But you're looking for that tapered bee sting, and that's not the word bee sting's not in the standard, by the way. So if you say that 5-piece top line is not in the Wieslow standard, but it does say it describes all 5 pieces. And if you don't know that from someone who knows the breed, well, it's not in the standard. Well, sure, it's in the standard. And by the way, if that's your only blueprint, you're missing the boat, right? So there's so much that goes into this, and unless you knew all those root breeds and how to put it all together, you're not going to get from phase one, the general good eye for a dog, phase two, the finer points of type, phase three, putting that all together. And I know that there are breeds, and we talked about this too, Will. If you're not really, if you're doing an owner handler group and a breed walks in you don't have a lot of experience with, if it's pretty well put together, and we know what that means without describing it, if its angles are balanced, if it keeps a top and moves well and appears sound and has good structure, basic conformation structure, that's the way you're going to judge that particular breed on that day. Where when you have your own breed, like the one with the whippet you were just talking about, you're going to tune in on those things and reward them because you know about breed type in that breed. If you're an exhibitor and you think we know 200 breeds to perfection all equally, that's just not going to. It's just not happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. And that's a good. I would contend it's a good thing because without people that are just focusing on the phase one basic dog, you're going to get too carried away with phase two judges. There are countries, and I won't name them, where breed type is overflowing in many breeds and they can't walk, not even a little bit, because there's more emphasis put on those things in those countries. In this country, I think because of our system, we have very few breed specialists and so many 5-6 group judges now that we're going to tend more towards putting up the general dog.
Yeah, good old
Right.
fashioned. Yeah.
That's why importing dogs back and forth from different. Look at Australia; they take the fancy ones from here, the really typey ones from Great Britain or Europe, or wherever, and the sound ones, and then put them together. And every once in a while, come up with, "Hey, man, that's
Look
pretty."
at that. I know. I've seen
Yeah,
those and think, oh my gosh, those are
yeah,
something.
yeah. It's fun that they would put it all together, but yeah, we're not all as smart as you think you are, as we are, except for Will and I. You can't get any better than that. It's and all breeds, all breeds. Hey, I've got to chase some points, bud. I got to get some CEUs.
Well,
So
where are you? You were nowhere last weekend.
please, I am nowhere
You're
every
home.
week. I haven't done a thing. I've got a life to live. I've got breeds to learn about, not to
Yeah.
collect CUs for.
Where I know we talked about that this weekend. I met some wonderful people at the seminar, and we talked about, and actually someone who listened talked about box checkers
Yeah.
and how many there's too many of them out there, and it's
Mm.
hard to um, be taken as a serious judge when there's all these other judges that just want to get in there. So it's
I guess, and maybe we're assuming that listeners know what we're talking about. Well, to be a judge, you need in low entry breeds, you need 5 points. In breeds that aren't low entry, you need 10. And that could require there's a list, a matrix they call it. If you judge a sweepstakes, you get 1 point in that breed. If you do an in-ring observation, you get 2. If I talk to Elliot Weiss about English setters until I'm blue in the face, I get 1 point. But if I see a Beathenhound, if I see a Beathenhound in 3 owner handler groups that I judge 3 times, that's 1 point. It's a crazy matrix.
yeah, that doesn't make any sense, does it?
And it has to
Talk
add
to
up to
someone like
10.
Elliot, then talk to nobody, and you show
Right.
the same point.
I mean, I'm
Takes
going to learn
longer,
more.
I guess, but
Oh, and by the way, Elliot might not qualify. He might not be. This is how crazy we're talking about. If someone has been on the mentor list, each club has an approved mentor. I guarantee you Fisher is not on any terrier list because he probably doesn't belong to any club or care to get on those lists. You don't want to talk to idiots all day, as he would say, right? But so use no points for talking to Fisher. That's crazy.
so it's
But
pointless.
it's
So what you're saying is
pointless.
it's
I
pointless
like the
to
way you're
talk to
talking,
Bobby
Jerry.
Fisher.
It's true. But this is the hoops you have to go through. And sometimes we just it's not insulted. It's, come on, one more. I've got to drive to Indiana hoping that the major holds in whatever breed and that the judge, here you go again. This is what we go through, ladies and gentlemen. Not looking for sympathy, just looking for
A little bit of
you
sympathy.
understand the frustration. If if I look at a judging program, I need 2 points in Boykin Spaniels. I look at a judging program and I find that if I drive 7 hours on Sunday, there's an entry in Boykins. And I drive 7 hours and the major breaks and I'm observing under someone, no points. No points. 0 for the day. If I drive 7 hours, the major holds, but it turns out that the judge has 11 years judging that breed, not 12, no points. So I've got to get a judging program, go through, find out where the majors are, then look up the judge and see if they've been judging for 12 years, and then hope the major holds. That's for 2 points. So if you have, 30 breeds in a group, that's not, it's not 10 points for every breed, but you're into hundreds and thousands of CUs to finish groups.
That
And
makes
it's just
no sense. That
exhausting.
is the common sense of that is nil.
So we talk about box checkers. There are people who are really good at that, who love driving around, finding majors, keeping checklists, driving there and observing under someone who doesn't really an expert in the breed, but they've been judging for 12 years and standing in the ring and nodding and they get 2 points for that. They're real good at that. They'll fly to every specialty. They'll spend a fortune flying to every national because you can get 3 at a national. You can even get 5 if you try real hard. So you can fly around all those and do all this and never learn a damn thing about dogs because you don't have a background in it. Even Will, now I'm on my soapbox. Calm me down, buddy. That's your job. Calm me down.
I'm going to let you go for now.
Even if you've been in the sport long enough to apply for the initial application, and then you go through all this other stuff and you get all those points, if you never had an eye for a dog in the first place, none of that's worth a damn thing.
Well,
Nothing.
exactly. What about going to a seminar and sitting next to a person and they're not listening, they're not taking notes,
Right.
but they get the same check mark you get?
Oh, yeah.
You
I've
know?
told the story at the Irish Wolfhound National where there were 6 students and the one guy was sleeping the whole time. And he woke up once in a while and didn't know where the hell he was. He went to lunch, came back. His first question was, when do we get our certificates?
Yeah.
Guess what? 3 points. That was a national advanced whatever hoo-ha seminar. Some seminars are better than others. You can have an idiot doing a seminar at, well, I wouldn't say idiot.
No.
Who's someone who isn't a great presenter but has background in the breed doing a 3 point seminar? That's 3 points. Or having Harry O'Donoghue do a wire fox terrier seminar that I went to. By the way, I never got a certificate. I just went to learn, heaven forbid. He's done an approved anything over here. You probably get no points for that. Or if you do, it would be 1 as opposed to a 3 from someone who doesn't know a fraction of what Harry knows.
That's an incredible man too. Like he's been over here judging all kinds of breeds, and he is spot on most of the time. Like you just
Did you say
watch him.
spot on, Will?
Spot on, Sunnybrook,
You did.
spot on.
Okay, terrier folks, there was a famous wire fox terrier named Sunnybrook Spot On. I don't think Harry had anything to do with it, but
No, I don't think so.
yeah, that's what our minds work.
My very first wire I showed was sired by Sunnybrook Spot On. Now I'm getting off tangent.
Well, you want to really get off tangent? That was one of my favorite dogs of all time, by the way.
Well, James No has a tie. We all know James No, and Jimmy Fredrickson.
No.
No,
See how I did that, Will?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Well, Jimmy has a tie and it's got a wire fox terrier on it. And it's Sunnybrook Spot On it because it's exact picture that we've seen in the famous books and whatnot. And I've always asked him for that tie. And the last time I saw him, he had the same tie on. I said, "You're wearing that tie I want." He said, "Sorry, brother. I left it to Mark Bettis."
Great. So he'll be sporting the tie. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see it. But yeah, those are things that Harry Donoghue seminars are unbelievable. He wouldn't fancy himself an artist, but he draws circles and triangles, just circles and triangles on a big white piece of paper, old school, and all of a sudden there's a fox terrier there. It's so cool. He was a school teacher, of course. By the way, useless trivia. I'll make it dog related in several ways. I was doing a seminar somewhere in Illinois. I want to say Springfield. And that week, it was several seminars. And Todd Kellum and I, my buddy from UKC, hunting guy, we went out to dinner, and there was a guitar player playing, and he was like, your own. It was like a golf community bar. This is gonna. Can I say suck when we're actually here? I think we can. It wasn't gonna be good.
Still
And
our podcast.
It's still our damn podcast. And he's up on the stage and he's unbelievable. He's super talented. So we have to wait around and talk. And we do. His name is Gareth Woods, and I urge you to
Oh
look.
yes, you put me on to Gareth. You sent me some of his music.
Oh, he sings like a bird. It's beautiful. Anyway,
His bird is the word.
A good bird, an angel, maybe he sings like that. Anyway, he's a Chicago policeman now too. He's a cool guy. Anyway, we get to be friends. He comes to the place and our place and hangs out. Over the years, we've become pretty good friends. Just last year, we're talking about dog shows, and he's from that area where Harry lives, right on the border. And I said, "You wouldn't happen to know a guy, a school teacher named Harry O'Donoghue?" He was his teacher, Will.
Wow.
Small world, but I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, it was good. That was good,
Yeah.
Jerry.
Yeah. Small world. But I wouldn't want to paint it. Anyway, I just wanted to show you folks, this is how it works. We make a list like this. This is what we're going to talk about this weekend. Where's the camera? Yeah. We haven't talked about any of these things.
We
just go off and
we
run
just get going. It doesn't matter. It's
The
like,
show about
have you been listening in the news about this Bennu asteroid?
The who? No.
It's an asteroid called Bennu that passes by Earth every 6 years, and they figure like in 123 years it's going to hit Earth.
Yeah.
And it's the size of the
about the one
Empire
that goes
State
around.
Building.
Is there
Pardon me?
news with it? Is there news on the Bennu? I knew.
Yeah, because they sent up a spaceship, or what do they call it, and to take a piece of the Bennu and bring it down so they can examine it.
I wouldn't want to mess with the Bennu.
Well, they've done it, and it's coming. The piece is coming to Earth this Sunday, and it's I guess because it's going to be doing, like, I forget what it said. This is about 9 ounces, but it's the largest piece ever. You know, it's almost like an Armageddon thing. They sent somebody up there, took not somebody, a machine
Yeah.
up there, took a piece, and they're putting it in a safe um, container that's going to make it through orbit without burning up. But it's going to land in the Utah on Sunday in Utah, and it shouldn't cause any damage 'cause it's only the size of a refrigerator, apparently. That's still pretty big because it's going to get through the atmosphere. It's not going to burn up. But what made me think, and why I brought this up is, you think dog show people are going to think, I hope the dog show doesn't cancel in Utah this weekend because of
Yes,
the panel.
exactly what I was thinking the whole time. I'm thinking,
Hope
what if
we're
it's a
okay.
dog
Hope
show?
it's the judging's still on, right? Because there's a major on Sunday.
We've had weather events that would be worse than getting hit in the head with a refrigerator from an asteroid, and we still get that strip of ribbon. We can't stop. I don't understand it. I don't
No,
understand it. And
and
by the
it's a
way,
50-cent strip of ribbon, if
maybe
that.
50 cents, if that. And I want to tell you, a lot of people don't know how that story related on the front end too, but the craft they sent up to get that
Osiris
done,
Rex.
USS Beagle. It
Oh, is
was
that
the
what it's
USS
called?
Beagle. No, I'm only kidding.
Oh, it's called Osiris Rex, so it does have a bit of a dog, yeah. Yeah,
It
the
does. It was Darwin with the Beagle. Darwin with the boat and the Beagle. That's where all this comes. And the world's best genetics experiment, thanks to Darwin, purebred dogs. We talked about it last week. 80% of our breeds in the last 120 years. There you go. We tie it all together, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
It's just like that.
This is a show,
How
Jerry.
you do the thing? What's this? Why do you do what were we doing in the ring that got us in
Yeah,
trouble?
well, sure. Every time
It's
I
a
say
show.
this is a show. This is a show. We get it. This is a show.
We can't help ourselves. Anyway, I do want to mention something. I got a message from a mutual friend talking about Facebook people slamming judges on Facebook and what kennel clubs can do about it. And not just judges, by the way.
No.
It's what can kennel clubs do about it? I would love to say they can monitor it and suspend everybody, but they can't. And we do have this crazy wider berth every day, whether it destroys people or not, of the First Amendment. You have the right to do that, I guess, unless you're really disparaging someone in a way that would affect their career. And then you've got to prove slander, and that's really hard in court. Common sense would be nice, respect would be nice.
Right.
But what
That's what it
kennel
comes
club and
down
talking
to.
about speaking of our friend Doug Belter, it can happen where a kennel club will step in, but it's got to be extreme. And this was horrible what this woman did to Doug, and she got suspended for it, as she should have.
Oh, she did.
But
Okay, I didn't know the
yeah,
outcome of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any other cases like that happened because the topic was so sensitive and it was a legal issue. So you've got to be real careful uh, about what you think kennel clubs can do. I wish they could do more. And this is Canadian Kennel Club specifically was the question. And I could ask at the conference in a couple weeks, but I wish there was a better answer because I'd like to write you back and say, bing, 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 this is what we can do. It's not that easy in today's world. And you can write whatever you want on social media. And unfortunately, in this sport, there's some pretty good self-monitoring where other people in the breed will stop up and go,
We'll
hey,
jump in and
come
say,
on,
come on. Yeah.
come on. Yeah. Actually, I put up a post last year, nothing to do with dogs. And someone said, you know, does that make fun of that person? It was a simple shoe thing or something. And I thought, maybe it does. Maybe that'll offend them. I took it down. It had nothing to do with anything important. It was a fashion thing. But if I'm that guy and read it, I might get my feelings hurt. So why bother? I don't need to put it up there. And the same is true with dogs. Why would you possibly, if you want to tell someone that you don't like their dog or them, how about we do it 60 style and actually have a conversation with them? Might change your mind.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Might change your mind.
I was,
Nice,
I was
you know,
also I was
in
also
business.
reading about this week. I forget where I read it. It was about judges talking about, well, it might have been Andrew or Desi. I can't remember. Andrew Brace or Desi Murphy. It was about the term dump.
Oh,
How judges hate when they're told that they dump their dog. It's amazing because I hate that term too. I hate to say it, Doc. I know you're listening. When
mhm.
you say dump, what do? I always jump on you because
Yeah.
they didn't dump your dog. You just didn't win that day.
Mhm.
Um, they could like your dog very much, but other circumstances, another dog walks in that day, and you remember there's a lot to take in 2 minutes, and you miss things. Oftentimes, and I repeat this at my seminar, I outline and timing, outline and timing. Your dog could look like $1,000,000. If my back is turned, I'm broke. I don't see the $1,000,000.
Yeah.
So
It's happened when it's close and you turn around and come back and the dog looks like a twisted pretzel and it's close. What are you going to do? And by the way, I can tell you, I dumped a couple dogs last weekend.
don't use the term dump.
I know that's what I'm doing. I dumped a couple dogs last weekend. Oh, we can do this now. You can see
Oh
us.
yeah, you can see
The
us
deer.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I dumped
Lasers.
a couple
Sorry.
dogs last week that were excellent dogs, but there was a slightly more excellent one in there. That's not dumping anybody. That's sorting breeding stock. Bring me that one again, and you're probably going to win.
That's right.
If the other dog's not there, having a great day. It's not. Oh, he beat. Oh, this is my favorite one. Wayne beat Will last week in Cockers. What happened to Cockers? Yeah, Wayne beat Will. First of all, it was your dog, not you. We talked about that a million times. But what else was in there? Or, it's always good in the group ring, right? You look and go, who did those? And you look and go, Alexander, what the hell were you thinking? Alexander had only that one dog. That's all he
Right. You
had
have
that
no
day.
idea. It all
That's all
comes
he
down
had.
to we can't make them what they're not. We can only sort them. So,
Yeah. Just
you
all
know,
we can do is judge what's before us. Are we infallible? No. Are we humans? Yes, unfortunately. Maybe you need AI if you want it all to be the same. I certainly don't want that. But that's the beauty of dog shows is we all approach it differently. There's different knowledge bases in every breed. And without the diversity of opinions, you're gonna have a pretty boring gene pool. And you're also going to have one dog show a year.
right.
Because if we're all excellent, the dogs are all excellent, performing perfect that day, there's no variables. It
I'm
just
gonna
doesn't
punch
it
it in the
doesn't work
computer.
that way.
You win every time. Done. We're
Yeah,
done.
absolutely. Absolutely will. What else did you have? We could look at the list, Will. We could do that.
Well, we
Nah,
got to
they're
be
all
careful
boring.
because we
These
can't
are all
go
boring.
overtime on our first one.
Yeah,
So
these are boring anyway. Who would want to do it?
you're not boring. We'll use them next week.
Yeah. You're looking great live, Will. You're looking great.
Well, you helped me because we're not used to this. So when I first got on here, Wayne's like, "You look like a ghost." So then I started playing with lights and brought
It
my
was so
color
funny.
back and
Yeah.
called the makeup team in, and
Yeah. And then a little shine on the nose. But I was going to call him Maxwell. You look corpse like. It just depends. So we're learning about these things. We have no idea what the hell we're doing. We're in our little spaces where we record, and we're hoping this works for you. And we'd love your suggestions on what else we could do better. I know we could be funnier, except he's always funny.
you're pointing the wrong way again.
This is my favorite
I
podcast
was
partner.
stupid.
Anyway, we appreciate you watching now and listening. And by the way, and Cheryl said to me, "Well, what if they're driving? We're still having the podcast. You can
It'll still be on podcast, yes.
So we have the
But
podcast.
when you want to sit back and have your dinner and watch some relaxing, you can watch the dog show drive.
Yeah, the dog show drive right here
But
on
now they
Hockey
know we're
Network.
not really driving. I
Oh
never thought
no!
about that.
We need those fake steering wheels like they have in the TV shows. You're just doing this all the time. And the backgrounds just stays. Yeah, there you go. We do that.
I'm sure they
Anyway,
all thought that we were in a van on our way to a dog show having this conversation.
could be, could be. If the vans are no, never mind.
Don't.
Anyway,
Don't do it.
we really appreciate the audience is building like crazy, and we really appreciate that. A lot of people say, where do we find it? Well, you can go to wherever Doc puts us on, Castios or something. Never heard of
And
it.
Spotify and
Spotify,
most
Apple.
podcasts, he has them attached to. And now it's going to be on YouTube. It'll be, I think we're going to start off on my channel, Dog Show Tips, and that's where you'll find this. But we'll put the links out there.
Yeah.
So,
And if you look on our Facebook page, that's another thing we wanted to bring up. Well, if you look on our Facebook pages, there's always OWEES. Why do I say that? There's always a box of some sort that you can just click on. So if people say, I don't know how to do podcasts, you just click on that pretty red and white box link on our Facebook pages, and that'll take you right to the podcast.
right.
And it's going to be the same for the YouTube channel. But there are plenty of people out there that don't yet listen to podcasts because I don't need to learn that much more technology. You don't need to.
Then you won't learn any here.
Right. Just go to our Facebook pages and click on the links. Another thing we just quickly wanted to address, there are people who get offended if we don't accept their Facebook request. Not that we're special at all, but we do get a lot of them. And Will especially, because he's so damn famous in other countries, that you might get 100 a month, right? And to go through them individually takes time. And sometimes
they get lost, and so if sometimes it takes someone to say, could you check for my name, and then I'll search the name and it'll pop up, but it's hard to accept them all. It really is.
And it's also hard for a couple of jackasses to just say, we're so famous we have to.
Well, technology peaked with frozen pizza, so you have to be patient with me. I don't have, like, I was having problems with the camera this morning and whatnot. I called Doc, and Doc was busy, and it seemed like it was different today because we're doing this show instead of the other show.
It's true. Now, this show is the other show. How do we explain that, Jerry?
Oh, God.
Anyway, thanks for your support as we go forward. We don't know why we do this. It's just that we miss each other. So, and remember, we take everything seriously except ourselves. And the other thing is, almost everything we tell you is true.
Gospel.
Almost.
Can you say that still? Gospel.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun, I think. And again, we send your suggestions and comments only if they're really glowing, because we don't, the negative ones, they just
They go into the negative pile. No, we read them and we take them and then we stash them.
All right, take us out, bud.
All right, guys, stay safe out there, and we hope to see you next week. Both of us.
Party on, Greg.
No way.
You gotta be paying attention, Doc. Thanks.
So, Ernie, use this in the blooper reel.
That's right. We love you, Ernie.
Don't put that in, Ernie.
Quit taking yourself so damn seriously.
I'm gonna roll
Some extraordinary data things that are being done around the world.
Thanks, Ernie.
We didn't mention hockey. Isn't that unbelievable? Put that in, Doc.
Yeah, they let us see it in a blooper. This is good. We're going to be here in a second, Wayner.
Don't lose it, Doc. Hot.
Use that one, Doc.
Don't use that one.